Hello, this is Brian Johnson with DomainParkingMoney.net, and today I want to talk about some concepts and thoughts that have gone around through my mind lately, and hopefully some of these ideas can help you as someone that's kind of getting started in domaining. And when you first start getting involved in domaining, there's a lot of information that's online and available that you can read that can be quite helpful. There's also a lot of jargon that goes along with domaining, and one of the terms that's used quite often, and I think probably used just a little bit too much, is actually type-in traffic. And why do I think that term is used too much? Well, a lot of times when you go out and if you read 10 articles on basically like the big picture on domaining and how to make money in domaining, that term, type-in traffic, is probably going to come up at least several times. It's used all the time, and I think probably today it's used off the cuff in a loose fashion, and when the reality is I would imagine there's a lot of domainers that make a substantial amount of revenue through traffic that is not type-in traffic, through traffic that is generated through the search engines. And it might not seem like it's all that important. I'm just afraid that those that are getting involved in domaining today might feel like that the only way to succeed is to be able to register and acquire domain names that are one or two words, generic search terms, things like this nature. And those types of domains are harder and harder to find today, especially if you try to register a .com. So I want to go ahead and I want to look at two incredibly successful domainers. Both make amazing amounts of money. However, I'm going to say that one of them probably has a lot more type-in traffic than the other, but I would say that there's plenty of articles that use the term type-in traffic to kind of describe how they both do business. The first domainer we're going to talk about is Rick Schwartz, and Rick has been involved in domaining and the domain industry for quite a while, and he owns some amazing domain names. I stop by his blog every now and then. And on the left-hand navigation, he's got a little area that says My Websites. One of the sites he owns, or I'll actually give you a couple of the domains he owns: hotdates.com, amazing domain name, property.com, and another singular generic term that must make him gobs of money is candy.com. Now I can see candy.com going crazy around Christmas time right now. Halloween, it must be off the charts, as well as Valentine's Day. I could see people just going straight to their browser and typing in the term candy.com and seeing what would come up. So we can assume that Rick makes a whole bunch of money from parking companies through traffic that is derived from type-in traffic. Now let's take another domainer that I'm sure many of you are quite envious of and is doing quite well. He makes somewhere between $20 and $30 million a year from what I've read. He owns over 300,000 domain names, and by now you might be thinking, oh, he's probably going to mention Frank Schilling, and I am. Now Frank got involved a little bit later. I don't know if I've mentioned that. This is about the third recording. But Frank got started around 2002, 2003 in the domaining industry, and he had a strategy right from the get-go. And I always talk about how important it is to have a formula, to understand what your goal is going to be, and then follow through and execute. I'm afraid today there's probably a lot of people that are getting involved in domaining, and they just go out and they're kind of haphazardly registering domains, and they don't have an attack plan. So come up with a formula, come up with a plan. Now Frank's plan was to register 2- and 3-word generic search terms that end in .com. And I found it kind of interesting that over the last 6 months I've registered probably about 200 to 300 domain names. And a lot of times when I'm registering domains, I've got the thought of developing sites myself. And I also have a very similar mentality as Frank, because doggone it, I keep running into his domain names. And he's got a lot of the same domains I own, only I own extensions like org, net, and .us, and Frank's got the darn .coms. Now, more power to Frank, congratulations, and well done. That being said, I want to tell you a story about one of the domains I registered for Halloween and then went on to develop, and I got over 171 searches for a term that really doesn't exist in the English language. And that term is sexy Halloween costumes. So go to Google right now and type in sexy Halloween costumes and hit return. And you'll come up with a lot of websites that have been developed and have been around for a long time, because Google is good at identifying and prioritizing their algorithm. But what's interesting if you're a domainer is a lot of times you own so many domains that you become lazy, and it's hard to optimize each individual domain when you own hundreds of thousands. So if you actually combine the term, or I should say terms, sexy Halloween costumes into one word, and then you search Google for that, you'll find that a domain comes up that's parked, and I think it's Frank's, who knows, it might be someone else's, but the bottom line is that there's a lot of domainers today that are making huge amounts of money, gobs of money, through these type of what I call run-in search terms. So if you're just getting started in domaining, if you're reading about this type-in traffic, you can forget about it. Don't even think about type-in traffic right now, because the chances are you don't have enough funds to acquire a domain name like candy.com that's going to enjoy hundreds of unique visitors a day just through type-ins. However, if you're smart and you register domain names based on search phrases, there's a real good chance that every now and then you're going to get thrown a bone and you're going to get one of these search referrals. And what's really positive about this is that the people that are coming to your site are actually searching for a very specific thing, like sexy Halloween costumes. And there's tons of advertisers that are willing to pay for traffic based on the term sexy Halloween costumes. So the kind of traffic you're getting is fantastic. The people are looking for exactly what your domain name is about, and you are able to run into some quality traffic that makes you money. And if you can register 100 domains your first month as a domainer, and if you can get 50 of those domains to produce the kind of traffic I'm talking about, what you'll find is you'll probably, at the worst case scenario, you'll be able to break even. You might not make a ton of money, but the difference between a domainer that registers these types of domain names that are based on keyword phrases versus a domainer that comes up with witty domain names on his own, it's going to be night and day. If you've got a portfolio that's breaking even, you've got money to pay the bills. If you continue to register new domains and they don't make you any money, then basically month after month you're losing money. And it's just, how long can you go on and be positive and continue in a losing business? It's just a really hard way to go. Furthermore, if you get really smart and you're willing to do just a bit of work, you can develop these domain names, and you've got a built-in search term for your homepage. Obviously, my site, Sexy Halloween Costumes, is about sexy Halloween costumes, and my target search phrase for my title is Sexy Halloween Costumes. It's a lot easier for me to rank with that domain name than someone else that doesn't have those terms in the domain. So, food for thought. Leave your comments. Am I off? Am I right on? Is this kind of traffic going to go away? Is Google going to kick out these parked pages in the years to come? I don't know. I'd love to get your feedback. Take care, guys. Brian Johnson at Domain Parking Money. Stop by the site. Lots of videos, lots of posts, great ideas. I'm sure can help you make more money.